Hello, guys and gals, and welcome. So today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, and that topic is Diablo 2 Resurrected etiquette. You might be asking yourself, well, what is etiquette? Well, I mean, it's kind of just not being a jerk. There are a lot of ways to not be a jerk in Diablo 2 Resurrected. However, the thing is that if you don't know much about the game, you might not necessarily know that you are being a jerk. And so my goal today is to sort of give everyone a quick overview of kind of what is expected. Many people who've been playing this game for nearly 21 years have, they have sort of mastered the art of an etiquette, and this is interesting because when you are doing an etiquette video, you have to talk about all these little things that you might not necessarily think about normally. But then you're like, okay, well, what about a new player? They're not necessarily going to know these things. And it would probably be a good idea if I were to, to go over each of them so that you guys know. And I have a lot of different things here, and we're going to start with portals. All right, portals is one of the easiest things that we can talk about as far as etiquette is concerned. Let's say, for instance, you are running along and you happen to find a waypoint. Not all waypoints are as easy to find as Frigid Highlands, but let's say, for instance, you do in fact happen to find a waypoint. It is etiquette to cast a portal at the waypoint, and then usually you type in something along the lines of TP up at waypoint, which we usually abbreviate to WP, or or you could type in WP up, waypoint up, or you don't have to abbreviate at all. You could just simply type in waypoint up, and it basically it helps people out, lets people know that you found the waypoint and you're trying to share the waypoint. And this is really nice because when you're trying to share, when someone's running through and they don't get the waypoints, it can be very detrimental to them later on when they go to another game by themselves and they realize, hey, I don't have any waypoints at all. Another interesting thing is, like, say you're running along and you're just having fun murdering things, you're doing your murdery best, and a new person joins the game. It is generally a very nice thing to do to simply make a new portal. You can pretty much assume that if a person is joining the game and they actually do want to be a part of what's going on, that they would like to join the group. So if you're running along and you happen to be in a position where you can help out, or where they would like to join you, you're going to make a portal to give them a way to join you. Number two is making portals on dead bodies. So say, for instance, somebody dies. They can't always get back to their body. They might not have a way to get back to their body. So, clearing out the area where they died, making sure that of course they can get to their body. So killing all the monsters really quickly around where they died. And then once you've got the area clear, you're going to go ahead and put a portal up near their body, and that way they can come back and they can get their stuff. And while we're on the topic of people dying, let's also talk about the gold that drops on the ground. Don't pick up someone else's gold. It's not a huge big deal, and I think a lot of people, for the most part, will just simply ignore the fact that when they die, their gold gets taken. But just as a general rule, don't pick up somebody else's gold. It's very rude. And if you do pick up their gold, don't panic about it. Don't be all weird. Just try and remember how much they had, or ask them how much they had, and drop it back on the ground. Gold is not such a finite resource that you need to be overly worried about it in that regard, and stealing someone else's gold is certainly not worth the trouble that it creates. You can get 35,000 gold per item that you sell as long as you're picking up the right items, and as you can see here from my stash, I literally have 2.5 million, 2.5 million, 2.5 million. I mean, I have absolutely no trouble getting gold, and it just doesn't make any sense to be stupid like that and take someone's gold and piss them off for no reason. Most people, like I said, aren't really going to care because they realize, as most older players do, that gold is really kind of worthless, especially the small amounts that you drop when you die. And most of them will just drop gold back on the ground for you. But the newer players are not going to be so understanding or forgiving. They're going to think you've stolen their fortune that they've amassed. And just give them back their gold. It's not worth the trouble or the headache. Also, when it comes to portals, make sure you are announcing hot portals. So if you make a portal, and let's say you barely escaped with your life, make sure you say something along the lines of, don't take my TP super hot. Hot is generally the term used for, if a portal is surrounded by monsters. Or you could say hot TP if you're in a rush or something along those lines. Just make sure that you are letting people know, hey, don't go through here. Bad. Don't go through here bad. Otherwise, they're going to go through the portal. They're immediately going to die. That's going to be very sad. Also, removing bad portals. So if you have created an awful portal, don't just leave your awful death portal up. Okay? Go, somewhere else. Maybe back to the same area through the waypoint or whatever it may be. Create your new portal, replacing your old one, because every time you create a portal, it's going to create your old portal. And make sure that you're removing those bad portals. Don't just leave a super booby-trapped portal up for someone to accidentally click on and die, unless you just want to be a troll. That's a thing. Also, when it comes to the Ancients, you cannot make portals on the Ancients' way or on the Area Summit. So if you're in the Area Summit and you're the Ancient's Way and you're about to go to Area Summit, make sure you make your portal before you go up to the Area Summit, and multiple portals. That way, if anyone dies, they'll have absolutely no trouble coming back. If you haven't noticed, when you go through your own portal, it disappears, but if you go through someone else's portal, it doesn't disappear. So as long as you have at least 2 portals up in front of the Area Summit, entrance, you can have basically infinite uses of those portals. But if it's only one, of course, you're only going to be able to use it once, and then the person who goes through the portal has to recreate a new one. And if multiple people die during the Ancients, you're going to have issues with people getting back. So keep in mind that when you're doing the Ancients, multiple portals is good, and make sure you make them outside the doorway. Don't create a portal during the Ancients unless you're deliberately trying to fail the Ancients quest, because if you create a portal on Area Summit during the Ancients trial, they will all disappear and go back to their statues, and the quest will essentially be failed. You can obviously try it again, but anytime that you create a portal while you're on Area Summit is going to reset the quest, and you have to start over from the beginning. Non-portal related stuff. There's a lot of portal related stuff there, but we're going to move on. The Hellforge quest. Do not do the Hellforge quest in a group. Whether or not it is still bugged in the way that if you, for instance, let's say you have 8 people in a group and they all do the quest, they will all get the completion flag, but only one person's worth of drops will drop. That's how it used to be. But even if it's not that way anymore, even if it drops 8 people worth of gems and runes, why would you want to have 8 people worth of gems and runes drop on the ground all at the same time for everyone to rush over and pick at? Do the Hellforge quest separately and in your own games, and that is this quest right here. So when you are doing the Fallen Angel quest, make sure you are doing, or sorry, not Fallen Angel, the Hellforge quest. That's the Fallen Angel. When you're doing the Hellforge quest, make sure you're doing it separately and in your own games. It's just polite. Nobody wants to have their particular Hellforge quest wasted, especially in Hell difficulty, where you can get an Ist rune or any other very nice runes from this quest. It would be very silly if you were in an 8-man game and somebody did the Hellforge quest and ruined 8 people's Hellforge quests. That's just very rude. So don't do it. If you don't have a gem to upgrade, don't click on the gem shrine. Gem shrines will upgrade 1 gem to the next tier. No matter what that gem is, it will be 1 gem to the next tier. So if you in particular need, say for instance, a topaz upgraded or a sapphire, and you go up to a gem shrine, when you click on the gem shrine, it will drop your gem back on the ground, and it will give you the next tier up gem. So as soon as I click on this, it would just simply take that gem out of my inventory and drop it on the ground as a perfect. And If you click on it when you don't have a gem in your inventory, or if you don't have a gem at all, it's just going to drop a chipped gem, and it's just extremely rude to click on the gem shrines if you don't have a gem to upgrade, because it's a waste. This is literally a free perfect gem for anyone who wants to get it, and if you're clicking on the gem shrines, you're just wasting them. They're extremely useful shrines just in general. You know, if you don't have a gem and you can't upgrade it, just shout it out for somebody else. Say, hey, gem shrine here. Has anybody got a flawless? And hopefully somebody will come over and they'll upgrade theirs. Maybe they'll even give it to you. Who knows? Bink. Next is a kind of an easy one, and it's just something that you really just don't want to do. You can rush people in this game. All right, you can rush people from normal difficulty all the way to hell, and they can even be level 1 in the process. If you guys have never done a G rush before, it's a fairly simple process of literally rushing someone from all the way from the beginning of the game all the way to the end of the game, so that they are literally level 1 in Act 5 hell. And while this may be desirable for some of the more experienced players, let me assure you that it is not desired for a lot of the lesser experienced players. If somebody has absolutely no clue what they're doing, they are going to have an absolutely ridiculously hard time in Act 5 hell. You're going to basically be throwing them under the bus, and it's just a horrible, horrible, horrible idea. All right, so don't just do yourself a favor and don't booby trap little newbies, ruining all of their chances and hopes and dreams of the game. Let them enjoy the game. Let them have fun. Let them be noobs. They will catch up eventually. Don't worry about it. They will catch up eventually. You don't need to push them any harder than they need to be pushed. If you find an item that can be useful, but it's not specifically useful to you, and you're going to sell it to NPC, offer it to the other players first. Think about maybe holding on to it just simply for the fact of, you know, hey, maybe you'll just go to another game later and you'll drop off the items to some other players. Consider it charity. All right? So, you know, there are a lot of items in the games which may not be specifically useful to you, but you are going to find that they are extremely useful to other players, especially lower level players. And as Onyx put it earlier when we were talking, one man's trash is another man's treasure. You know, I freaking love being charitable, and I think if you guys will be charitable with some of the lesser items that you find along the way, you'll get the same taste for it that I have. Make sure other players aren't in the danger zones before popping the seals in Chaos Sanctuary. So there are 3 seals that spawn monsters in Chaos Sanctuary. There is Lord Decease. There is... Sorry, Bale is really loud for some reason. That is like super duper loud. There's Lord Decease, there's Infector of Souls, and there is Grand Visor of Chaos. And what you want to make sure that you're checking is, you know, that the other players aren't directly in the line of fire for the boss. So, for instance, with Infector of Souls specifically, because Infector of Souls is really, really high swarm, he always has extra fast, so he swarms really well. Just make sure that you're not popping the seal while someone is directly in the area where Infector of Souls will spawn. It can often lead to instant death, and especially in hell difficulty, you are going to be really, 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 really badly off, you know, and hardcore, because, you know, obviously if somebody dies, they're dead forever. So don't pop seals on people, unless it's a bot. Maybe you pop seals on them on purpose so they die. Enchant is a really ridiculously huge help for other players. If you're a sorceress and you have enchant, cast it on other people, even if it's not a high level. Enchant doesn't just give you fire damage. Enchant also gives you a huge attack rating bonus. Okay, so this attack rating bonus is extremely helpful for mercenaries. It's extremely helpful for melee and ranged characters, and I think you will find that if you are, you know, a little frugal with some enchant, it can definitely make a big difference in the speed at which you clear games. Now I have it on an enchant stick. I can't really spam it like a lot of other players can, but it's useful though. It's useful. I'll use it every now and then it has a really high repair cost at the shop. But you know, you sorceresses get it for free after all. And paladins should use cleansing to rid group of ridiculous poisons. This is a very interesting one because paladins have a unique ability called cleansing, and if you have cleansing, it's definitely worth using specifically to help out your group. If you are a usually a Hammerden tends to have cleansing just simply because they usually go down this line to grab redemption anyway. And cleansing is just extremely useful as an ability. What it does is it reduces the duration of the poison, especially if it's got a couple extra points into it with your plus to skills and like that. So you know, like for instance, say you're being absolutely demolished by a poison from Coldworm the Burrower, or the Act 2 monsters in Throne of Destruction, or the poison snakes in Nilithak's Temple. In general, you can use this to just clear those poisons straight off, and it's just a very polite thing to do in general as a paladin. Whenever you have that poison up, just go ahead and throw your cleansing up for a few seconds. Remove everybody's poison, and then you won't have to worry about it so much. If you are a army necro, so this is important specifically because army necromancers tend to be very, very useful in terms of tanking. So it's kind of hard to specifically say that a necromancer is the main tank. Like, let me just say that there are situations where the necromancer is not the main tank, or he's not as useful as he could normally be. So you know, it's interesting to point out that, you know, the necromancer is not always going to be like this. But if you're in a game and your necromancer is essentially the primary tank for the group, and he is doing the majority of the you know, the damage absorption duties, your army is spread out across the entire zone, and the monsters are all attacking your minions, and the group is really depending on your minions to absorb this damage, and you teleport back to town, there's a very good chance they're going to die because they were relying on your army, and as soon as you teleport back to town, your entire army is going to disappear with you. So it is polite just simply to give a nice little heads up, just say, hey, you know, I'm heading back to town, and then they can take the appropriate measures to, you know, adjust. And if they don't adjust, well, you know, then that's on them. It's not on you. You've given them a heads up that you're going back to town. You know, you can't always be there, and then, you know, they need to rely on themselves a little bit too. So there's that. But in general, like when you're with an army necromancer, you do tend to play maybe a little bit more aggressive than you would otherwise. You know, just simply because you do have this giant army that is distracting everything nearby, which is very, very nice. And also, when it comes to necromancers, let's talk about the other aspect of necromancers, which is there are a lot of characters that use corpses. So if you're a necromancer, specifically for like corpse explosion, things like that, if you're a trap assassin who's using death sentries, if you are raising your army, there are a lot of uses specifically for corpses, and there are a lot of abilities which will completely demolish those corpses from existence. Holy Freeze mercenaries, redemption specifically. Redemption is an ability that will literally suck up the corpses and remove them from existence. It's very, very impolite if you're with a necromancer to use abilities that will remove any and all of his ability to raise an army or use his corpse explosion, just in general. So like if you are a paladin running redemption, don't use redemption while you're in with an army necromancer. If you have a Holy Freeze mercenary, maybe you know, reel him back a little bit so there's actually some corpses, or perhaps maybe switch off of him for the time being if you plan on playing with that necromancer for a prolonged period of time. If you are specifically a class that has abilities that will demolish everything in sight, do be careful about that as well, because obviously you're going to have some issues with the coexistence between the two of you. There are also specific items which you need to be aware of. So there is an item, it's called Nature's Peace, and Nature's Peace has the Monsters Slain Rest in Peace modifier. And the Monsters Slain Rest in Peace modifier will prevent necromancers from being able to use any corpses that fall. So if you are in possession of this ring, it is a great ring if you are, with characters that do not need corpses. If you're with any characters that don't need corpses, then yes, by all means, use your slain monsters rest in peace. But if you are with monsters that do need, or players that do need corpses, don't use the Nature's Peace. Take it off, just for the time being, while you're with the necromancer or with the, the corpse explosion assassin. It really hinders, the way that they can play the game. This is one that has to do with trading, and specifically, it's very insulting if you don't show your items. So if you are in a trade and you want to trade with people, you're in a trade game and you're trying to trade, show your items. Both parties should show their items, even if one person has already showed their items and you don't have anything that they want. And hear me out on this, because a lot of people have items which they would not normally consider trading. Like, for instance, this Mars Kaleidoscope with +2 to skills, +5 all attributes, and all resistances 30. I might not want to trade this. And I'm probably not going to put it up in the trade window. But if you had an item that was good enough, I might consider trading this amulet. It's what you call off-the-table trade items. And in general, most players will have off-the-table trade items, which they would not consider normally trading. But should you have something that they particularly desire, they might be willing to show you some items that they might not want to trade. And these off-the-table trade items are sometimes very good items. It's just that they're not going to put these up specifically because they don't want to trade them away. But like if you have that one person who pops that one item up there that you just have to have no matter what, you might offer him things that you wouldn't otherwise normally offer him. Another thing here is when it comes to games. So let me go ahead and save and exit here, and I want to go to the list. So we're going to go to the list here, and I'm going to see if I can find a game. Act 1 Andy. Here we go. So don't go into a game and kill people's quest objectives. So if you see an Act 1 Andy game, don't go into the game and kill their Andariel or their Duriel or their Mephisto. There's a very good chance that they're going to want to go and kill those objectives very quickly. Act 1 does not take very long, and before you know it, they're going to be in Act 2, and it's going to go very quickly. There are games that you can take advantage of for that. Like if you really want to go kill Andariel, find a game where they're in, for instance, Act 2 Hell. So in this particular game, they don't need to kill Andariel. Andariel is past their objective point. So joining an Act 2 Hell game and killing their Andariel is perfectly fine. But joining an Act 1 game and killing their Andariel is not perfectly fine. It is just downright rude. Now, if you're helping them kill them, that's a completely different thing. But that's probably not what's happening. Now, of course, this applies to all the major quest objectives, like Summoner, Mephisto, Andariel, Duriel, Diablo. There are a lot of different monsters in the game, which are these individual checkpoints, and without these individual checkpoints, you cannot continue. So don't kill specific quest objectives in a game where people need those quest objectives. It's rude. Speaking of Duriel, the tankiest member should go into Duriel's tomb first. So if you are about to go into Duriel's tomb and there is a sorceress, a necromancer, a paladin, and a barbarian standing there, whoever is the tankiest person should be going in first. The necromancer might be the obvious choice because he has an army. If he has an army, if he doesn't have an army, it's probably going to be the paladin, because the paladin has the really nice block chance on his shield. And the reason for this is because Duriel tends to punk people who walk in first, and you don't want the squishiest members to walk in first because they're most likely to die. Make sure that you turn in quest objectives when you get them. So, for instance, if you are in, say, an Act 3 game and the Jade statue drops, and you pick up the Jade statue, make sure you turn in the Jade statue so that everyone can get credit for the quest. Don't just hold it in your inventory and forget about it. It's very rude to pick up the quest objectives for these turn-inable quests like Jade Statue, Lama Sem's Tome, Herodric Malice, the Anya Thawing Potion, by the way, which she only gives out one. And there's some more I'm probably forgetting. But basically, these are quest objectives which one person will pick up, and then one person will not turn in, and then nobody gets credit for the quest. It's very rude. Don't click on the fire shrines and murder your team. I can't really say this enough. Fire shrines are very interesting. They literally will deal 33% of your HP and damage, no matter what your HP is. And that's off of your total, not off of your current. So if you are running along in, say, Stony Field and you come across a fire shrine, fire shrines will remove literally 33% of all the HP of everything nearby, including the monsters and all the rest of your party, the mercenaries, your necromancer's army, all of them. Let me see if I can actually find one while I'm talking about the next point. Now, of course, you can click on the fire shrine if you want to troll your group too. That's another decent use of the fire shrine. Be like, hey guys, look at this shrine over here, and everybody runs over, and then you click on it, and you murder half your team. You know, maybe that's what you want to do. If you're going to buff the team, make sure you're actually buffing the team. Like, for instance, let's say you have a sorceress on your group, and your sorceress is specifically teleporting to objective points for you. The sorceress is putting his or herself in great danger to achieve these goals. And so I think it's very important that you remember that if you're a battle orders barbarian, you go out there and give your sorceress some battle orders before they do their teleporting. That way they're much safer along the process. Gives them more health, gives them more defense, gives them some extra skill points. It's very, very useful to help keep them alive. Just in general. So, if you do happen to have battle orders and your sorceress is teleporting, like, say, for instance, she's doing a Telebale, or, like a Chaos Sanctuary or whatever, just go to the River of Flame, or go to, the Worldstone Keep level 2, wait for the sorceress to pop up, throw your battle orders up real quick for her or him, and that way he will be able to do the teleport in much greater safety. Last that I can think of off the top of my head, and I'm sure I've missed something at this point, but let me just do this last one. So this has to do with EXP and how far away you can be and still get EXP. So there actually is a limit, and the limit is essentially 3 grid squares, and it's kind of hard to be able to really quantify 3 grid squares. But if you've ever been in the Chaos Sanctuary, the star in the center of Chaos Sanctuary is essentially 1 grid square. If you are looking to stay within range, you need to stay within a 3 by 3 grid square. So basically what this is that you are going to stay, as long as you are within like 2 screens over, is essentially how I look at it. So this is 1 screen here, and if I am another whole screen over, I'm still close enough, but the 3rd screen over, it becomes too far, and I will no longer get EXP. And it's important because not only will I no longer get EXP, but they will no longer get EXP from what I am killing either. So it is a lose-lose situation. Once you are too far away from the other players, nobody is sharing EXP anymore. So it helps to stay within a certain bunched area. Like I said, if you go to Chaos Sanctuary and you look at the size of the star in the center of Chaos Sanctuary, think about the size of the star as 1 grid square. And the maximum distance that you can be is a 3 by 3 grid square. So the star would be the center of the grid square, and basically you can move 1 to the left, 1 to the right, 1 up, 1 down, and then of course there's the diagonals on each corner. But if you're any further away than essentially 1 square off from the star, and you're killing something, that's going to be too far away, and nobody's going to actually be able to get that EXP. Another easy way to think about it is that if you are out of range to be able to see them on the mini map, like see how TP Farmer up here on my mini map is just barely within range. He or she is probably just out of range of the EXP. He is literally almost there, but not quite, and it's right there at the edge. So the mini map can also be used as an easy way to sort of see what might be the right distance. This is really important because if you're specifically trying for EXP, like if you're in Chaos Sanctuary or River of Flame and everybody is all split up, the EXP is going to get split up, and you guys are going to have a hard time leveling because you're going to be wasting effort, essentially. I think that's pretty much it for the etiquette video, and I hope that that you guys who maybe are new to Diablo 2 are enjoying the game, and I hope this helps you out a little bit as far as progressing through the game. It definitely is helpful to know some of these things, especially if no one teaches you. It's going to be a lot more difficult. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching these videos, and keep watching.